here on the John Fourcade Show. Mike to take you along with John Fourcade. John, news again, certainly on the ownership front of the Saints. We finally got to hear a couple times from Mr. Benson over the last 7 days. Carolyn Schofield from Fourcade got the first interview with Mr. Benson as he was driving into the facilities, and then last night we saw on the basketball game he had some short, comments to make on the basically that he's going to work every day and everything else. But bottom line is that we know this is going to be a long, drawn-out situation. When it's going to come down to it, Gail Benson's going to be the owner of both the Saints and the Pelicans. When it's all said and done, they'll have some kind of financial settlement to be done between both parties. But right now, really, best case scenario is for Gail Benson to run the Saints organization. She's been the biggest part of really reshaping his image and that sort of thing, and also such a huge part of the community, not only in New Orleans, but also in Louisiana.
Well, Mike, you got to look at this. If Mr. Benson is happy because of what Gail brought on the board here in the last 10 years with him, who cares? It's his money. It's how he wants to deal with it. The only thing that scares us and hurts us around town is the fact that it's out in the public. And us as
that's what happens.
That's the part about it, because it's news. It's well.
And he's the wealthiest man in Louisiana. He owns the Saints and the Pelicans. I was telling you, I have one of my neighbors who was involved in a major litigation issue. The dad owned the shipyard company, which was expensive, but he wasn't a high-profile guy, so to speak. He always kind of flew under the radar, and it got to be real ugly between the family members. But this is a totally different situation because of the fact of who you're dealing with.
Well, the fact too also is that you got to look at this. If Gail is the final person they go along with, she's going to have to surround herself with the right people, and I think she will. There's rumors about if it isn't her and it happens to be Rita and that side of the family, there could be some people probably leaving.
Major
and there could be some changes, and I don't think that's what they want to have around here. We got to sit back, Mike, and watch this boxing match play out.
And it's a legal issue. Yes. And listen, the lawyers are going to make a ton of money off of this from both sides.
Why did I get a law degree?
But one of the things, too, I think that's going to come into this is a guy that you don't hear a lot about, but I think has become a major factor financially in both organizations, Dennis Losha.
Yes.
And what, Mr. Benson trusts him with his financial decisions and helping out. And I think Dennis becomes the very key player no matter what, because of what he brings to the table. And also, New Orleanian, a guy who knows the area very well, real sharp businessman, he's kind of worked his way up the ladder, and Tom Benson trusts him with his money. And I know one thing, if you're a wealthy man and you trust somebody with your money, you got a lot of trust in him.
That's the guy you go with, even though his wife could be the beneficiary of owning this operation, owning these clubs, but Dennis could be the guy that he or she trusts us down the road. First of all, we got something. He ain't dead yet. I mean, Mr. Benson can live another 10 years, and this could fall over and change by that. But right now, he's got Gail set up as when he dies, he's not dead yet. You never know now, unless he goes off the deep end here lately, and we don't know what's going on. He still owns and runs his team.
The thing about there is some mortality. When you get to be 87 years old, the understanding that somewhere down the line, even though maybe you are alive, you might want those efforts done by other people to help you in that, because once you get to a certain age, and we both have moms, dads that get up to that age, you know what, a lot of times
you ain't got to be 87. Just ask me some questions. I'm a little shaky at times, but I will say this, but just don't ask him who the president is right now.
Well, those sort of things, as long as he knows how to sign the checks, everybody's happy with it. Everybody also, too, it looks as though it's kind of died down, the deflate gate, everything else with Bill Belichick and that sort of thing. Because you know what, to me, that was a big thing about absolutely nothing. It had nothing to do with the outcome of that football game. And you know what, you can maybe say it's part of them skating the rules. I'm not going to tell you who exactly told me, because he's got a job now that he wouldn't want it said. But he always used to tell me, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. So to speak, in football, everybody's done it a certain way. You've been around.
Yes.
You played that position where you've scuffed up the football. You've done certain things. Burt Jones came out this week and said, every week I was trying to make sure those balls were rubbed down with something to take some of the sheen off of it. So everybody's doing a little bit of something to get an edge. And you played with Martin Anderson, who did a lot of things with that football.
Look, I held for Martin Anderson when he was kicking those field goals, and those balls back then weren't the ones they're using now. We used the same footballs as we threw the footballs and ran the balls with as what he was kicking. And there were some things that I used to see Martin Anderson do some things with those footballs prior to a football game. You don't say anything to the world's greatest kicker. You just go ahead, okay, Martin, I'm going to hold it for however you want it, whatever you want me to do. But, you know, when I was playing, Mike, they didn't come to me and say, here's 12 footballs, pick them up. You just, game started, you play with those footballs. There was none of that back when I was playing, but I will say I scuffed the footballs up when we were on grass. On turf, you really couldn't do much except stick them in the dryer to get that stuff off. But when you played on grass, I'll bet you this much. You go watch what I was doing. I was doing everything. I was digging holes and burying them, trying to get mud. Do what you can do that. But on turf, it was totally different. So, you know, it's over and done with. It's more about the slickness. What I don't understand is the kicking balls are more slicker than the regular footballs.
Ones.
So I don't even know why they use two different footballs. It's a joke anyhow with that.
My thing is, if you're the NFL, why wouldn't you go to Wilson and say, make me a football with less sheen on it?
Another thing, Mike, why go to two teams that gives 12 balls from you, 12 balls? You're the NFL, we got 24 footballs. We control it. We control it. No balls go to any coaches or any players, anybody, any team. These are the balls you play with. Tough luck. Go play.
I agree with you. Something's got to be done. And you know what? Sometimes something's got to happen for you to transport some sort of rule to change that sort of thing. And I think when you look at it, that's I think the same way with the reception rule. I think because of the Des Bryant incident, you've got to be able to change that too, because that was a catch. In every sense other than the way the NFL kind of put it to the letter of the law. And I think sometimes a major event has got to happen for you to change something. That's not right.
Like you said before the show, talking off there, it's written in the Bible, but it's how you interpret it. And that's what happened with that rule. That's how it was interpreted by the rule, but you will see a change there.
We'll have a lot more here on the John Fourcade Show, sponsored each week by Veterans Ford. We'll be right back.